Hey everybody, it's Angela and I am back with another process video. And I'm going to start out with this Collins memorabilia paper. And I have a little bit of this collection that I'm going to use on this layout. And I've had a lot of people ask me about the wildfires here in Oregon. And so I thought I'd go ahead and just do a layout of it and kind of talk about it a little bit here. So I have the photos on the right are off of the internet, and the photos on the left are of me and my husband and our farm equipment in the photo above us. And I am also going to use that kind of flip photo sleeve. That's kind of a throwback. You don't see that used very much anymore, but I'm going to go ahead and use that just to put a bunch of the pictures in on my layout. And so, so we have a large fire called the Archie Creek Fire about 20 miles north of us. Luckily at this point, the winds have not been bringing it our way, but unfortunately that means it's going someone else's way. And they've lost, over 100 people's homes so far, like 150,000 acres of forest land. The smoke is terrible. In our area, normally the air quality index is supposed to be from about 0 to 50 is good. And the other day we were at 559, which is considered hazardous. It pegged off of the air quality scale. So if my hubby and I have to go out and do something outside, we wear these paint respirators, which we know how to properly use because my husband used to do that. So we take precautions. We've traded our pandemic masks for paint respirators for wildfire smoke. And then we took all of our equipment out into a field. I had disked down our field, so it was just bare dirt, and we haven't planted anything in it. So we rolled all of our equipment that we could, in case ash falls and starts a fire, there won't be like grass right underneath the equipment to really get it lit on fire. Hopefully any embers that land on the equipment won't have purchase to start a fire. And then we've taken our irrigation lines and sprinklers from our fields and we put them all around our house, which is luckily it's a metal barn building, so we have a metal roof, and so that's helpful. And we set up our irrigation, and so we've done everything we can, and that's all we can do. So the smoke is pretty bad. It is kind of impeding our crops as well, because what things we did have planted in our garden aren't ripening because they just can't get any sunlight. So it's just been pretty depressing around here lately, but we're just doing what we can and persevering. So I thought I'd go ahead and document it, and I do wind up reprinting this picture of my hubby and I and just making it 4x6 to fill that whole photo sleeve on that flip book, just because it gives a cleaner look. And I start with all this kind of chalkboard theme stuff. I know that stand and I forget exactly what it says there. I don't wind up actually using it, but that's from one of those chalkboard paper pads from, I think, Die Cuts with a View that I got at Michael's. So I have the Teresa Collins and some chalkboard type things. And I go ahead and I start doing it like this, but it looks pretty plain. And you can see here, I go ahead, I think, okay, I'm going to use this as my title, which I don't, but I put it up there, and the whole layout just looks kind of clean. It's kind of straight. You can see I've got everything straight on here, and I just wasn't feeling it after I got these cut out and placed on here. I was like, man, I want this to be, it's a wildfire. It should be a little more chaotic, and it should be bolder, less subdued. And I also am documenting this, and I'm using pictures and information from the internet. So I wanted it to be more like a news story or a documentary style, or an office supply items on here. So it's like I'm gathering information off the internet to really tell a story. So I want it to look more like the top of a desk, cluttered with all kinds of information while I compile my story. So you'll see here in a second, I looked through these Mamby stickers because they're also kind of in that chalkboard theme. And I went through a lot of my chalkboard items looking for stuff. This is another of the Teresa Collins. And I pull out these as well. But as you can see, yeah, it's just really kind of monochromatic and a little bit dull. And I was like, oh, gee, what am I going to do? And so when this happens, I usually just kind of take a break and I think about the story I'm trying to tell. And this is, like I said, it's a wildfire. It should be chaotic. I want this to be like the top of my desk and like I'm gathering information for a story. So you can see here is where I get stuck. I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I take a break. And then I come back on another day and I move it all off to the side. And first thing I do is I kind of turn my items on an angle, which is a little more dynamic than just being straight. And I also print out my maps of the wildfires here in Oregon. I do a big picture of it. And then this is a map of the fire that's near me, so a closer up item. I do a transparency. I haven't printed a transparency for a layout in a long time. So yeah, it was different to use that on the layout. So I have a transparency of a close-up of the wildfires, which I did not take. And then I use these dies, that Sheena die, the Sizzix. I've got some diamond dyed deers and an Impressions Obsession, like a branch, like a fir branch. I also have this tag out of my stash to give it that kind of office supply, what's on top of your desk feel. But I wanted the foliage and the deer to kind of poke out around the edges, and I wanted them in black to really bring home, the loss of habitat and the loss of wildlife that's going on here. It's just turning everything black, and yeah, it's just really overwhelming. So I thought, what a better way to portray that than to just have a few of these tree branches and some deer and stuff just kind of poking out, kind of showing the loss of life that's going on. So I'm just kind of, putting everything on there like it's kind of just laid out on the top of my desk. I also have this other acetate piece, a little film strip that I'm going to put over the section of the state that has the fire that I'm nearest. And also a paper clip, which is kind of an office supply. And that one's in the shape of a camera that I'm documenting this whole thing. And I have the that one map on the left kind of going off the side of the page. And in a little while, I will put something going off the right-hand side of the page because it looks a little lopsided there. So I go ahead and I decide to start gluing stuff down, since I've kind of got things situated how I like them. And there's just a lot more interest here. There's a lot more things telling my story. It's a lot more dynamic. There's a lot more color. And yeah, so I'm liking this way better. So I go ahead and I attach the deer down on there. And I like that you can see the transparency when you finally flip up all the photos. You can see that picture, but you can still see the map that's beneath it because it shows up through the transparency of the wildfire. I am going to put my journaling back there eventually, so some of that will be covered up, but not all of it. So here's where I decide to put this tag over on the right so that it goes off the edge of the page too. And I think that just having something going off both sides of the page helps the layout from getting lopsided. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick this tag in there. I want the top of the tag to completely show because I want you to, really understand it's a tag, more of an office supply. But yeah, I still want it to go off the edge of the page as well. And then I needed something to go on that tag, so I had cut out those trees. I'm just going to put one of the trees here. Otherwise, I just use the, more close-up branches on there. So I have one full tree. So I'm liking this. I'm going to go ahead and get this tree glued down. And we're supposed to get rain tonight, guys. We're just praying for rain here. There's just, I think we're all just kind of done after the riots in Portland and the COVID and now these wildfires. We're all just, I don't know, I am just weary. So so we're just praying for rain. So I pulled out my notebook punch, another kind of office supply thing, a texture you would see on top of a desk. And I had that little scrap of paper that matched the mat under this top photo. So I'm just going to put that there for some extra texture. Then I pull out some black and white baker's twine to put in the top of my tag. And again, that gives another texture, so it looks like, more stuff is laying on top of my desk. And then, and then I do the title. And so I decide to go with red to match that red on the top of the layout there. And those are the 3 stages that they use. The green, if your stage 1 is green, which is, get ready, be alert. The yellow is stage 2, which is, get your bags packed if you need to evacuate. And stage 3 is to grab your bag and evacuate immediately. So, luckily we were mostly on stage 1 here so far. Our business has been on stage 2, and my parents were on stage 2 with their bags packed. And yeah, it's just been chaos. So at first I think, I go ahead and I put my date up there where it's pre-printed on the background paper. First, I think I'm going to handwrite on here, but you know what? There's more to the story than I could probably handwrite, so I'm going to type it after this is all over so I can really document the whole story. And then I'll put that at the behind all of my flip photos. So here's a close-up of the finished layout. Again, this is the Teresa Collins memoranda, I guess. And there you can see the map of Oregon with the wildfires. I put a little asterisk by the fire that's near me, that one there. And the die cuts, the nice bright red title. And the other maps and tags. And then this is my little flip book. Picture of my husband and I with our respirators on. There's the field with some of our equipment. We've got it scattered all over. Couldn't quite fit it all in the picture. There's some of the sprinkler irrigation we've set up around the perimeter of the house. There's our greenhouses kind of out in the smoke. And then these are internet photos of just things that we see around here, all the smoke. There's a farther away picture of the Archie Creek fire. It's just wow. And then there's the transparency picture in the background. And then I'll type up my photo and put it over this plastic backer of my flip book here. And I'll put a strip right there with my journaling on it. And so that is my finished layout. So thank you guys all for your concern. For those of you who've reached out and asked, how we're doing and about the wildfires here. And I just wanted to give you guys an update and let you know what was going on. So, thank you so much. I enjoy your comments, and, to those of you who reach out to me, I really appreciate it. And if you have any questions or anything, just leave me a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video after the rains come. Talk to you later. Bye.